Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to be reviewing, well, reviewing is going to be a little bit generous of a term. I'm really just going to be gushing about this book, and that book is book 8 of The Expanse. I can't even say the name right, but it doesn't really matter because I absolutely love this book. I'm going to go with Tiamat's Wrath. I typed that into Google, and Google pronounced that for me. I know it's wrong. I know in the audiobook it's pronounced differently, but I absolutely loved this book. This is a new love for me. I gave it 5 stars. Not only did I give it 5 stars, I have some notes on here that I'm going to be looking at, because if not, this review will go off the rails and I will just ramble for 25 minutes about something that doesn't even make sense. So I'm going to reference this down here just to stay on the tracks, because if not, I don't know where we'll end up. But as I was mentioning, this was a 5-star for me. Not only is this a 5-star for me, this is an all-time like new favorite. I currently have this ranked number 2 of all the books I've read since I started writing books back in like 2018, 2019. And this is the highest I've ranked a book since May of 2021. I believe that was A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. And so it's almost been 2 years since I've ranked a book this highly. With this being book 8 of a series, I am going to spoil the crap out of this book. I think if you're watching a video about book 8 of a 9-book series plus novellas, you probably don't want to hear a non-spoiler version of it. So I am going to spoil the crap out of it, talk about, you know, some huge plot points that really stuck with me. If you do want a quick non-spoiler version for some reason, I will say that the non-spoiler version is the crew is split up all around the galaxy trying to fight the good fight against the Laconians, and the aliens are back. So yeah, that's as non-spoiler as I'm going to get. So let's go ahead and dive on into some spoilers. Man, this book starts out with a banger, well, a sad banger, I should say. It's not a happy feeling, but we learn very early on that she has finally fought the final fight for the last time, and we learn that one of my favorite character, Christina Alvacerla, ooh, I butchered that, but she has died, unfortunately. And that's one thing that throughout this book I really liked, not people dying, but how throughout the story we've been building along with certain characters, and because of the time skip, you know, they're older, they're vulnerable, and we're finally seeing some of that come into place. You know, spoiler for earlier in the series, but you know, when Fred Johnson dies, he died in such a way that makes sense for the universe. You know, they talk about stroking out on a high G burn, and it just happens to him. And what's more natural than, you know, finally just being too old and dying? And that's what happens here. And, you know, that's where the book starts out with. We have Holden, you know, the dancing bear of Laconia, and, you know, he's there mourning her, and it's just a really powerful scene. It kind of sets the stage that, like, this person who has been so important has fixed so many things that have gone wrong, and just issue after issue she's been a part of, and her hand has been in it, and she's just gone. And, you know, it really struck me that we started out so strong with such an important character just being gone. You know, no ceremony, no big battle, no nothing. She's just gone. It's finally over. I'm probably going to say this a lot, but one of the most interesting things that we get introduced to pretty early on too is Elvie working with the Laconians on all the dead worlds, or the dead gates, where, you know, there's not any sustainable planets for humanity to go to and conquer, and, you know, habitat and everything. And, you know, we start out and they're in the solar system with the Jupiter-sized diamond that they kind of think is the accumulated knowledge of the gate builders, which was crazy to think of, but it made sense. You know, the soft, hard science that works in The Expanse, you know, they explain it away and make it make sense. But, you know, I think that's going to play a huge role in the next book. But just seeing, you know, what they've been doing and how they've been going and searching, and then obviously we get the realization when they go to the next solar system with just the giant star, that they want to fight back against whatever killed the gate builders. And to see the work that they've been doing, and not even knowing that they're doing it, that the Laconians are so focused on this military escapade to make sure that whatever happened to the gate builders can't happen to them. And it's funny, you know, spoiling this, that because of this thought process, they end up, you know, doing a lot of damage to themselves. We also see that Naomi has basically become a hobbit in her little shipping containers. That, the moment when her, Alex, and Bobby finally get back together and they're all giving each other hugs, and, you know, just that, the familiarity they all have together, man, what a just powerful scene when that finally happens. It's, you can just feel that it's been a long time, that it's been hard, that they're doing things because they have to and they think it's the right thing to do. And in reality, they really wish that they were probably just still hauling ice together. I mean, maybe not, maybe that would have gotten boring, but you know what I mean? That just feeling of the family that I really didn't connect to for a long time in The Expanse. This book just really made me feel it more than any other book. I don't know if it was the writing has finally just gotten to a point where that's what I feel, or because I've been with these characters for so long and have gone through so much with them that I just feel like I'm part of the crew. And man, that moment when they're together, even though it ends up with them fighting and, you know, we kind of see the disagreements they have, and, you know, Naomi wants to be the politician and do it that way, and Bobby is the Marine that she's always been. But man, that moment with them together was just so special. When we do get introduced to, I'm going to say her name wrong because I know somebody in life whose name is Teresa, and her name is Teresa, so I'm going to mix that up at least 5 times when I talk about her and her dog. Getting to see the life she is being forced to live because of her father being the, you know, God Emperor of humanity currently is really interesting. I know I'm going to say this a lot because I just loved everything in this, but it was so interesting. It just like the government, how it's been set up on Laconia and throughout the solar system, and then to see how she's being treated as normal as possible, but still obviously being like the special person, and, you know, having all these classmates brought in just so she can feel normal. And it cracked me up when, you know, the boy she liked, I think it was Connor, you know, kissed another girl and all this stuff, and how she still felt human even though she ends up, you know, being kind of groomed to take over and be an immoral being like her dad. Just that really human emotion that really helps us connect to her. You know, she's obviously a new character that we get introduced to, and she's, you know, technically on the team of the bad guys, but I still really cared for her and her whole story. She obviously goes through a lot as the story progresses, but just her and her dog. I mean, how can you not talk about that? I thought that dog was going to die so many times, and I really thought they were going to do it to me with how this story progressed. I'm so glad that it didn't, but man, I really did think that dog was going to die a couple of different times. But I really did connect with them, and that story, I'm going to say it a lot, it's just fantastic. It's amazing. I loved it. So the real kickoff for the story is obviously when we get to Sol System with Bobby and Alex, and they're attacking the ship to try and get the Laconian political officer, you know, captured so they can interrogate him, try and, you know, do whatever they're going to do. And obviously that goes poorly, not poorly because it works out in the end, but they don't get the officer. But what they do end up getting is something even more valuable, and that is the antimatter. And that's really the catalyst that kind of sets the story in motion. When they get it, obviously the Laconians know, and they know that this is a bad thing. So you get ships coming out to them, and man, just that interaction that Bobby had with Alex and just that familiarity they have, it's just so special. And it takes a series like this that is this long, that you have been with these characters, that you really know them, and these characteristics are in force over and over again over time, that you just, the decisions they're making obviously fit their characters so well, and just work and how they work together. And man, it's just, I don't think I have a bad thing to say about this book, so I'm just going to continue to be positive. It's just amazing. It's on the level of something out of like Wheel of Time for me, where I knew how those characters felt. I knew what those characters were going to do, and that's exactly how I feel about it here. And so when Bobby's being a badass and Alex is, you know, being the pilot that everybody wishes they could be, it's just, it's great. And the scheming that they come up with, how they're going to handle, you know, the ship coming to them, and they devise a plan on how they're going to blow up the, you know, the flagship of the Laconian Empire and Sol System to kind of, you know, fuel that rebellion is just, I mean, it's what I want. I didn't know what I wanted out of this series at this point. I knew I wanted more aliens. I didn't know I wanted this. But man, the duo author, James S.A. Corey, just fed it to me. I was like a baby bird and a mama bird, just like wanting everything. That's such a weird thing to say. But it was just perfect. And with this just kind of being the catalyst for how everything continues in the book, I thought it was important to mention here. At about the same time that's happening, we have the testing that is going on in the solar system that LV found that it has just the giant star that's on the edge of collapse. And we have the Laconians doing their Laconian things and trying to do a tit for tat, you know, like training a dog. Like, if you take a ship from us, we're going to hurt you. And obviously that goes really poorly when the, like, we already had super aliens get defeated. And you think this is a good idea. I can understand why Duarte thought this was going to work. You know, he's obviously gotten too big for his britches as an immortal, like, whatever he turns into. It's very creepy how he becomes weird and doesn't have to sleep. But it makes sense that they want to do this testing, and obviously it goes as poorly as possible. When the star explodes and destroys everything in the ring gate, I did not think that's what was going to happen. I figured, you know, maybe they were going to lose another gate because, I don't know, that just seemed more likely. Man, just losing, and so many people die. You know, the whole underground gets upset because Medina's gone, and obviously Laconia is freaking out because one of their ships is gone. Their what do they call it? The Magtar, you know, their super ship is destroyed in the blink of an eye because of their own ignorance, and it's just, oh, man, it's great. Yeah, the Typhoon gets destroyed. I made sure to get that, and also because of this, they lose time again, and Duarte becomes catatonic. He is somewhere else. LV gets injured. There's some weird stuff. I kind of went over my head maybe, but you know, they see these black things going through interdimensional space, and there's probably some kind of like fourth dimensional creature doing something. But you know, it kind of like everyone kind of like loses time in their mind, and obviously this was an attack made to affect the gate builders. And Duarte, having become part gate builder himself with a proto-molecule, becomes into a catatonic state, and that really sets up the fall of Laconia, I guess. They really struggle to do anything without him because he's been that guiding light, and everything they've done is to make him be the point. He's the tip of the spear. Everything goes through him. No second guessing, no questions. He is the ruler. Everything is built in his image, and it works because, you know, that's how he made it. He's defected from Mars and created this, and you know, he rules with an iron fist. You know, we hear about the public executions and sending people to the pins and everything, and so him going catatonic is, you know, really the worst thing that could happen for the Laconians. So it's an interesting setup, though. After that, we start to learn about Cortaza's plan and kind of the evil person he is. You know, LV finally gets to Laconia. She helps. She's helping Cortaza, yeah, that's how you say it, Cortaza, you know, try to figure out what's wrong with Duarte because she's, you know, supposed to be a proto-molecule expert, or at least, you know, that's what Holden fed into everybody. But, you know, we learn the plan that, you know, Teresa is supposed to be immortal as well, so that, you know, if something did like this happen to Duarte, she could take over. And we really see that jealousy, you know, come to fruition in the fact that, you know, he wants to kill her, so he can, you know, do tests on her and probably, you know, become immortal himself, or just have a greater understanding of the proto-molecules. At this point also, and this is something I love about this book, of how it brought all the novella, or some of the novellas together. Like, I don't think you should read this book without reading Strange Dogs and probably Auberon first, because there are some characters, especially from Strange Dogs, that really become important to the story. Obviously, I'm talking about the two kids that die and get brought back by the drones, and this also leads into the next point I was going to mention is, you know, Teresa has found Amos hiding in the mountains with a pocket nuke ready to just destroy everything. Well, you know, he wants to get Holden out, but, you know, he's also ready to just kamikaze it and do as much damage as he can. And, you know, that leads up to, you know, all this bad stuff is happening with Teresa's dad, and she runs away to Amos, and, you know, they follow her. She finds out she had a tracking implanted into her jaw, and they kill Amos. And since I read those novellas, I knew that he wasn't going to be dead. And normally I have a pretty big problem with like fake out deaths. That's something that really bothers me, but it works in this case because the groundwork was laid for him to come back. Now, obviously he comes back different, and that is kind of a question that gets asked, like, are the people who are affected by the proto-molecule still them? Are they something different? Are they something in between? Are they like basically a computer of the person, because that's the structure the protomolecule had to build on. You know, there's a couple of different questions, and Cortaz is actually kind of the one who brings that up. But that whole interaction just was, oh man, it's everything coming together at such a good pace, and there's no wasted stuff here, and it just makes sense. Like I said, most fake out deaths, oh man, they kill me. They kill me because I want there to be consequences. I want things that happen to matter. And, you know, doing fake out deaths drive me crazy, but it works in this case. And that's a very rare thing for me. I might have the timeline a little messed up there. Maybe this story definitely has death in it. And this is all happening at about the same time in the book, but we have the attack on the Tempest. And for some reason, I really I thought it was going to work. They've done so many things, even when they didn't work out. I just never thought that Bobby was going to die until the very end. I was in denial even until the explosion happened, when the antimatter finally goes off and they are able to kill the Tempest and, you know, kind of liberate Sol System to a certain extent. Until the explosion happened, I thought that Bobby was going to make it. And what just like a badass way for her to go out. It just works so well for her character. I loved it. You know, and that whole section she has about, you know, her dad was this ultramarine on Mars, and, you know, he was like, I've been ready to die so many times and everything. I'm getting chills right now just even thinking back to it. Like, oh, it's so perfect. And she's, you know, it reminded me of, actually, I'm not going to say that, huge spoiler for The Wheel of Time. I'll keep that to myself. But it just was fantastic. I loved it. That moment when she just accepts it and she's like, this is better. What I'm going to do is going to matter. My life is going to matter in death because of the action I'm about to take. And it does. She's right. It matters a lot because they destroy the Tempest and they're able to get, you know, their bootleg streams up. The news has to talk about it because, you know, everyone can, I don't want to say can see it, but knows what happens. And it's the catalyst for, you know, the rebellion against Laconia to happen. The boot is off their neck in the sense that, you know, this unstoppable ship that took down the combined fleet of the Sol System was taken out by, you know, a bunch of rebels, and it's just great. That's a moment that I think if I made a top 10 list of my top 10 moments from books, I'd have to be up there. Her going out with literally guns blazing at a ship, just, man. And then like I said, until the explosion, the antimatter explosion happens, I thought she was going to make it. So just what a moment. So just when I thought my emotions couldn't take any more, we get Alex and Naomi coming back to the Rosinante, and I don't know why, it just felt so special. I knew they were always going to end up back there at some point. I knew that, you know, that ship has just been such an important point to the series that at some point they were going to get back there. But man, I did not think it was going to happen without Bobby. And I forgot to mention this. Speaking of the emotions, Alex getting to, you know, retire when they get back to Draper Station, which of course they named it after. Man, there's emotional hit after emotional hit here that has so much weight. It's amazing, and it's storytelling done so well, but it's great. That moment, the moment of Alex getting to the ship and then Naomi coming in, and he can just recognize that it's her because they lived there for so long together and just have that connection. Oh man, just the fact that I knew it was coming back. I knew they were going to get there together, but just the moment after everything that happened with Bobby, they still don't know that Amos is alive. Well, Amos is alive. Them just being back there, oh man, the emotional weight in this book is, you know, and in this series to this point is just, it's on any other level of like those high-end books that you think of, like Wheel of Time, it's on that level. There's that much story going on. You know the characters, and this was just one of those moments where it came together in a way that just made sense again. as Alex and Naomi are getting everything back together, we do get another alien attack. And this time, LV kind of gets it figured out of maybe what they're trying to do. And we kind of learned that the hive mind of the gate builders couldn't handle this kind of shutdown, I guess is the best way to say it. And it was kind of an interesting thing that she just kind of equated it to, that our brains were just like an engine, that maybe it's not otherworldly, it's not a rocket ship going into space, but it's, you know, that two-stroke that just will never die no matter what you do. You can pour, you know, like grease from your fryer into it and it'll keep running. And she kind of equated our brains to something like that. That was a really cool thing. I think that part of the problem I had with The Expanse for a little bit, I still always liked the series, but I wanted a little bit more alien, especially with how the series kind of starts with it and then it kind of goes away. I know we have the ring gates at that point, but I felt like that really took a backseat. And for a sci-fi series that kind of started with it, I thought it was a missing piece. And it coming back so full force in this and it being such an important part and kind of how the series is going to finish is great, because I really think that this series probably could have ended, you know, 2 books ago. Right after the time skip. When the time skip happens, I think that's where they stopped the TV show, and I could have seen that being, if it were tweaked to be a more satisfying ending, you know, how the series could have ended. I'm so glad that this final piece, this final question is getting looked at and answered. With Naomi now taking over the underground, she coordinates her attack on Laconia, and this is pretty awesome. They know that they are not the strongest force, that the one ship left, I can't remember the name, but that, you know, the last ship is left there at Laconia, and, you know, her goal is to destroy all of the building or the shipyards that build the Magnetar class ships. And it's done really well. Again, like everything in this book is done really well. I've probably said that 15 times already, but it's true. It really is. And at this same kind of point, we get back to Teresa, who is done. She is fed up with all of the bullcrap she has been dealing with. She knows that the scientists want to like experiment on her, and she's like, it's time to go. I'm done. It's time to get out. She breaks out Holden. Oh, before she does that, Duarte wakes up and sees Cortázar after Teresa told him that, you know, he wants to kill her or whatever, and just eviscerates him. I don't even know what to say. You know, they're also studying the book, but he's been in this catatonic state where they can't get anything out of him, and, you know, they're struggling to keep up appearances, and that's really their main goal, so that nobody knows he's just kind of not shown up or anything. And man, when he just he turns into some kind of interdimensional superhero or whatever and blows away him, man, that was a great moment too. And, you know, like I was saying before that, like I said, I had to be careful or this was going to go off the rails. I'm glad I've got these. Teresa is like, okay, it's time to go. She breaks out Holden, and they get the beacon that they got after they killed Amos. They still can't find him. They know that the repair drones probably did something with him at this point and everything. And that's kind of happening at the same time as the Rosinante is coming in to do a sweep by to destroy the ship, or the shipyards on Laconia. I knew there was going to be a reunion with Amos and Holden at some point. I didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. I actually thought it was going to happen a lot sooner than it did. Well, they're, you know, fleeing as the Rosinante is coming in to rescue them. And obviously Amos comes in and kills some head officials, some super important people throughout the story. And, you know, Holden has that, oh, is this really Amos and everything? But that reunion, again, the emotional weight to these scenes where, you know, they're all getting on the ship and they don't have a lot of time to, like, you know, sit and really enjoy what they have. But just the crew being back together, even though we're missing Bobby, which, man, we are missing Bobby, but just them being back together with Teresa and the dog. Thank God. I really thought the dog was going to die here. When he said he was going to kill the dog, I thought it was going to happen. I was going to be mad. I thought he was going to kill the dog. But they're all together again, and, you know, they get away. Teresa comes in clutch, saves the day. She puts on a great, I don't even want to call it an act, that's how she was raised to be. talks down the Laconian army and is like, hey, we're leaving. You don't have any idea what's going on. I'm way above you. You're nothing compared to me. Do you know what my last name is? She drops that on him, and it's made me laugh. It's so good. The sassy, what is she, like 14, 15 at this point, to, you know, the most powerful ship in all of the galaxies, except, you know, for our super aliens. It was great. The ending of this also is great. It sets up the last book really well. I think I have a general idea of where it's going to go. Obviously, I think it's going to be some kind of interdimensional battle between creatures we can't even comprehend, because, you know, Holden goes down and talks to Amos. What is Amos? You know, who, what, where, when, what is Amos at this point? And he just tells him, you know, I am Amos. And Holden's kind of like, well, what do you know? What don't you know? And I think the exact quote is something like, the aliens that killed the gate makers are going to kill humanity now. And that's just such a cliffhanger. Man, this book just, oh, I don't have any more for the plot to say. This is just going to be me saying again, this book was everything I wanted out of The Expanse that I feel like was missing for a long time. The reintroduction of the protomolecule and the aliens was just such an uptick in this book for me. It was great. This second favorite book of all time. It's only behind another sci-fi series, The Remembrance of Earth's Past. The final book in that, Death's End, is still my all-time favorite book, but this is the closest anything has been to a long time to even challenging that. I mean, like I said, A Man Called Ove it's such a different book too, but even though it was my #2 book for almost 2 years, it was nowhere near close to coming anywhere near Death's End. And this was the first time, and since I read that in I think 2019, that I was like, man, is this my favorite book? I sat on that for a little bit and I decided no, but this is as close as it's been to a while. If for some reason you haven't read these and you've watched all the way to the end, just start reading. Start reading. You need to get to this book. It's so great. Once again, 5 stars. That's all I've got to say. I definitely have rambled some in this video, but I hope you enjoyed it if you watched. So let me know if you did. Let me know your thoughts about The Expanse in general down below in the comments, and have a good one.